Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here to give you the quick rundown on the AI news that actually matters today.
Yeah, we've sifted through the news, the reports, all of it.
Her mission really is just to cut through the noise and give you clarity on what's
Yeah,
developing.
exactly. Straight to the point. What's significant and why you should probably know about it.
Okay, so let's jump right in. A big theme we're seeing is this huge professional interest in large language models and AI agents.
Definitely. One report we saw, I think it said something like 78% of professionals are citing LLMs as their top interest area.
78%. Well, that tells you something about where people are focusing their learning, right?
It really does. And it makes sense. LLMs aren't just for chatting anymore. They're becoming these core engines.
Core engines for what specifically?
Well, think about conversational agents, obviously, but also code generation, research assistants. They're really foundational now across different industries, even the infrastructure supporting them.
Can you give us maybe a couple of concrete examples? How are they being used day to day?
Sure. So improving customer experience, that's a big one. You've got smarter chatbots. Then there's automating documentation saves a ton of time.
Right.
And in science, like biomedical research, they're helping crunch through really complex data. So it's about efficiency, handling complexity, useful for analysts, engineers, pretty much everyone.
Okay, makes sense. Now, switching gears a bit, there is news about Cohere acquiring AutoGrid. What's the significance there?
Right. AutoGrid, they build tools, AI tools for automating market research, the high-level stuff for big companies.
And Cohere bought them?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So Cohere is basically pulling that advanced market intelligence capability into their own platform for businesses. It's a strategic move.
So what happens to AutoGrid's current users then?
Well, AutoGrid's co-founder mentioned their product is actually being sunsetted. Yeah, but they're saying they'll work with customers on the transition, integrating those features into Cohere services eventually. It just shows how these AI companies are trying to build out more complete solutions.
Gotcha. And sticking with business, but maybe a different angle, infrastructure, we saw AWS commenting on energy needs in Britain.
Yes, that was interesting. The AWS CEO basically said Britain needs more nuclear power.
For AI? Really?
Yeah, specifically to feed the expected boom in AI data centers. The worry is the current grid just won't cope without more generation capacity.
Wow. That really puts the scale of this AI growth into perspective, doesn't it? The actual physical infrastructure needed.
It absolutely does. It's a huge underlying factor.
Okay, let's shift focus again. Python at Meta. What's that about?
Right, so the news is Python is now reportedly the most used language at Meta.
The most used? Like overall?
Across all functional areas, yeah, that's what's being reported. They apparently have over 3,000 developers using it every day.
That's pretty significant for Python. Speaks to its versatility, I guess.
Totally. Especially in, building and deploying AI stuff at that kind of massive scale. It's still incredibly relevant.
Okay. And we also heard about a new model, SWE1, from a company called Windsurf.
Yeah. SWE1, it's their first set of models, and they're designed specifically for software development, the whole life cycle.
How's it different from, say, other code generation models?
Well, the focus seems to be less on just spitting out code and more on helping with, the messy reality of development. Things like incomplete code or complex bugs that span different parts of an application, more workflow-oriented.
Interesting. Okay, now for something slightly different, a potential pitfall. There was this incident with Claude AI making an error.
Ah, yes, the citation error. Apparently, in a music lawsuit, Claude cited a source, but it basically fabricated the title and the authors.
Ouch. So it just made something up.
Pretty much. It's a real-world example, a reminder that you really have to double-check the outputs from these AI systems. They're powerful, but not infallible.
Definitely a cautionary tale. And speaking of big models, what's the latest buzz around GPT-5 from OpenAI?
Their stated goal, basically, is for GPT-5 to just do everything better. And crucially, with less model switching.
Less model switching, what does that imply?
It sounds like they want to consolidate many of their existing tools. DALL-E, advanced data analysis, browsing into one more seamless experience, kind of super unified model.
Makes sense. Okay, and on the research side, MIT had some news about an AI productivity study.
Yeah, this is interesting. MIT actually publicly distanced itself from a study that had gotten a fair bit of attention.
Why?
Concerns about the data, basically. Questionable data, unverified claims. It just highlights how important rigorous methods and proper validation are in AI research. You can't just take headlines at face value.
Good point. Okay, one last piece of news, a bit lighter maybe. Fortnite players and Darth Vader.
Huh. Yeah. Apparently, players figured out ways to kind of manipulate the AI controlling the Darth Vader character in the game.
Manipulate how?
To get it to say inappropriate things, basically. Make it swear, give problematic responses.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, it just shows the challenge of content moderation and, preventing misuse when you put generative AI into interactive environments like games. It's tricky.
So, wrapping up this quick dive then, we've covered quite a bit. Big focus on LLMs and agents, some key business moves like acquisitions and infrastructure warnings.
Right, and updates on specific models like SW1 and GPT-5, plus these real-world examples, both good and, well, cautionary, like the Claude error and the Fortnite thing.
It really paints a picture of a field that's moving incredibly fast with lots of interconnected parts, the tech, the business, the ethics, the infrastructure.
Absolutely. And keeping track of these core developments, even just the headlines we touched on, is pretty crucial if you want to understand where AI is heading and how it's impacting, well, everything.
So as you follow AI's next steps, maybe think about how these different threads connect. How does a better model from OpenAI influence Cohere's strategy or increase the energy demands AWS is worried about? It's all linked.
It really is. Lots to keep an eye on.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.